Thank you. Good morning, and I just want to thank everybody for coming to our facility committee meeting. It is September 4th. I want to note that the board members are here as well as many of our administration and facility maintenance people. I first need approval of the agenda.
Move.
Seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I've received no public comments. So we'd like to begin with the new middle school, the contingency tracker.
Thank you, Joan. Rebecca, would you mind opening that up? And if you want to scroll it down to the bottom when you get a chance. If you want to make it just a little bit bigger, please. Okay, so what you're seeing is the most recent report on the new middle school. Again, just to orientate yourself, the column that says construction manager contingency with the 3.1 million is the contingency dollar amount that's included in our contract that is managed by Vogel. To the right is the owner contingency, which was originally created through project savings. And then you can see the total of the two of them are a little bit over $3.1 million. The one agenda item that we wanted to discuss with you regarding the middle school was the topic of the site fence. The last time the committee met, we spent a few minutes talking through the different sections of the fence that could potentially be replaced around the entire property. There was a proposed change order in the $115,000 range to do the whole thing. Since then, Dr. Brown has walked the sites multiple times to come up with her recommendation. You do see on the screen, it has been knocked all the way down from over 100,000 down to 35. But Dr. Brown wanted a moment to, Rebecca, do you want to bounce back out of this one? Just wanted a moment to review her thoughts regarding the fence. And if you could open up that fencing markup, please. And perfect. And so Dr. Brown, you can take it away. And if you have any feedback, John has walked it multiple times as well. So John's welcome to jump in on that one, but I will turn it over to Dr. Brown.
So as we sloshed through the mud and all, further examination of the site allowed us an opportunity to pull back from what the original conversation was, which really centered around safety, right? And having access to the building. So as John, myself, Brian from Vogel, and Dustin, we all walked the perimeter of the campus, and examination of the south end of the building is there is a concrete wall there already. And so in our minds, that is the fence, right? If someone wants to make a concerted effort to come over that wall, they have to bring a lot of apparatus. That's number one. And number two, just walk around if that's, that's what you're gonna do. And certainly safety is always a priority. But ultimately what we were able to discover is, there's a fence at the apartments in the back behind there. And it's so covered especially in the spring and summertime when the trees are flooding and that kind of thing, that I don't think there's a need that fencing can stay there. There isn't a need to replace that. But where the optics of the fence, I think, is important, given that we will have a very new building, is just in the St. John's perimeter along where the cemetery is, and then on some of St. John's grounds. So we were able to pull the dollar amount back to the $35,000 amount, understanding that most of it was just around optics and the fact that the fence that is currently there, our belief is that's probably the first fence that was there. That's that's what we believe, that is the first fence that has not been replaced for a while. And so because we have a new building, the optics of that would just we're right for that to work with St. John's to be able to replace the fence along the cemetery and then the perimeter around our building leading up to a garage where St. John's owns that space. So in essence, At this point, that is up for, you all have given me permission to be able to approve that dollar amount. And so we think we're in a good place as far as fencing is concerned at the middle school. And Dustin and John will continue to pay attention moving forward. Once we're in the building and we're using the building, it may bring something very different, but for right now, we think that's what we need as far as fencing is concerned in that area. So I don't know, John, if there's anything you wanted to add.
No, it's a good explanation. I like that we'll have the new areas that's shown on the screen there replace fence along the cemetery and St. John's School property for the 22 through 50, or I can't see. Yeah, 23 through 50. And then the green section was always slated to be replaced during construction, so that's construction cost. And then the smaller piece, which has a really large double gate, we don't need that gate any longer on the 12,500 section, so that gate will go away. There's going to be a wall there now, a landscape wall, so that gate is unneeded, and that'll abut the St. John's garage, like Dr. Brown already stated.
So if you were to secure it way back.
I think that's a good plan. Yeah. And I think it is a good neighborly thing to do with St. John's. You know, they have accommodated a lot of construction there. It's good. Can I ask a question about the middle school as I drove by today? Curb and gutter are going in, so they're going to do some of that groundwork this year.
Yeah, they're doing curb and gutter right now, and they're going to pave.
Hey, that is awesome.
Right now.
Yeah. That'll help our winter there.
Yeah, they won't. I almost mentioned it yesterday too. I think they're tired of sloshing through the mud as well, so they're gonna try and get as much of that knocked out before winter.
That's awesome. How's the inside? I'm just wondering when we should tour again.
Let's go. I would say anytime. It's great to get in there because a lot of finishes are going in.
Well, let's get the ground. We don't want to slosh in the mud. Let's get the ground finished.
We can start back.
Yeah, let's maybe keep that in mind before the dead of winter, that we maybe do another tour.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, and you don't need any motion on the fencing, and that's all set, ready to go. Thank you, I appreciate that. So approval of capital maintenance request.
Okay, Rebecca, would you mind opening up the second attachment, please? And then if you could make it large and just focus on the top part. Okay, so a lot of numbers on the top part. I do want to review this information with you because there have been some changes. So we have been working with Vogel very closely to conduct what we're calling a mid-project reconciliation. As you could tell, the previous document that we brought up had that $3.1 million number on there for project savings or contingency at this point. But if you look at this document, you see projected middle school savings at 3.7 million. So obviously that's higher. The reason why it's higher is we are estimating savings in the contracts for HVAC, electrical, and plumbing at this point that will push the contingency savings higher. So what we're showing you here is our best effort to give you the most complete picture we can at this point. So the projected middle school savings have been updated. The next line down, you can see high school / district work not completed. We want to just keep putting this front and center, so we're adding it onto this document. The family changing area at the pool is a good example. The large group renovation is another one, the TLC. So you can see to the right, that's where that $1.3 million comes from. So all of that together totals up $5.3 million in funds that if all of the projects ended today and we didn't approve another single thing, that's where we would project we would end. So this is the most complete update that we can give you at this point. The middle school is going very well. There are no significant projected financial issues occurring at this point. Vogel was very comfortable doing this mid-project reconciliation. At Heritage, we waited to the very end. So basically, this is the most recent updated information that we can provide to you. The importance of this is going to come into play with the conversation around the high school campus and what we choose or not choose to do next summer, as well as the conversation we just finished with the budget committee, which the budget committee gave us direction to get the property tax levy from 10.4% down to 6%. Our financial advisor did show the budget committee an option to get there by refinancing. Initial reaction from the budget committee was to look at a combination of approaches, so not just strictly refinancing, perhaps pulling some of these funds as well to lower the tax levy. And the other idea that was thrown out there was we did last week receive $1 million from the IRS for our Inflation Reduction Act rebate for Heritage. So that's the smaller one that we're going to be getting is Heritage. So that was a real exciting moment for us. We did not actually expect it to come in just a plain white envelope though, with a paper check. We thought there'd be a little bit more than that, but that's what we got. It was an old school check for $1 million. So the budget committee does want to have a deeper conversation about this dollar amount, the $1 million in refinancing, to come up with a plan to get the tax levy back down to 6%. Certainly nothing that we have to decide today, but I will say that this part of the conversation is very important in that bigger picture of what we're trying to do. With that being said and done, Rebecca, you want to bounce off of this and go back to the list for this month? And just as a reminder, in 2024, we moved forward a pretty large group of projects designed to meet the IRS spend down requirements of the project so that we were going to be able to maximize our interest earnings. In 2025, we've pulled that back. Our lists have been smaller. We've been more conservative with what we've been bringing forward. But we've spent quite a bit of time in the last month working through some of these issues, and there's a few larger ones on here that we want to spend some time talking with you about. And then there's an issue at the high school that we just need to make you aware of that plays into, again, the conversation on the high school campus. I'm going to save the high school one for a moment. But what you see on the screen is a variety of requests that we want to talk through this month. I want to start with that second item down, and I want to have a conversation with the committee about your perspectives on this one. So as you all know, Dr. Brown has a committee schedule that she's looking to implement in 25-26 that moves away from my favorite committees meeting on a monthly basis to meeting on a more quarterly type basis. So one question we had for this committee is, given the fact that this committee has always approved these lists monthly, and oftentimes Scott or John will come in and chat with me about something that's going on, and I say, well, let's add it to the facility committee list. If we get to the point where we go 2 months or 3 months without a meeting, the question we want to pose to this committee is, are you comfortable approving emergency repairs so that John and his team could do things like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, parking lot, other issues that do come up from month to month? Or would you prefer us instead to just call this committee to meet? If you would prefer this committee to meet, we can scratch off that second item and we can take off that dollar amount. If you would prefer to follow the schedule that Dr. Brown put together, we would ask for some type of flexibility. And again, the approval levels would coincide with board policy. So Dr. Brown, as you know, has the ability to approve up to 50,000, the board vote. So we're not going to be like approving something outside of the normal thresholds. This just provides the funding if, let's say, a $10,000 repair came up. So the question for the committee is, again, because we've always met pretty much monthly, what's your take moving forward in 25, 26 as we start meeting less often? Would you rather have us call the committee together when something comes up, or would you rather allocate some funds to be used only if necessary in between meetings? Dr. Brown, anything that you wanted to add to that?
I'll just add, we would, so provided that we stay on the calendar cycle, when we get to that next meeting, we certainly will bring you up to speed on what we were able to, or what we needed to accomplish in the realm of the $90,000, so that you could know and will know where we are in the event that some of these emergencies arise and we have to take care of some things.
The board still meets monthly. Can't it just go to the board? I mean, in that specific, in those cases then?
Yep.
That absolutely can, yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I like that. And if at the end of that, or when we meet next and you give us that update, we could change our practice too and say, oh, I'd rather just meet every month and deal with it. So I like what Ted said. Let's just try this, allocate the 90,000, and have a report at the board level, and then at the next meeting we'll just assess.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. I do want to touch on the larger items on here, and then of course we'll open it up to every item that you would want to review. The basketball hoop issue in the field house is one that Scott has spent a lot of time chasing down this summer. So Scott, can you give some background about what the topic is here, your attempts to work on repairs and quotes, and just kind of where this is at?
Okay, so as you guys all know, well maybe you don't, but the existing structure, the apparatus that all the hoops are on, they come from the ceiling of the field house. They were put in 2004, so they're over 20 years old. They are getting very worn, and I've had our vendor in multiple times to do the best fix they can to get us through. Now I've had them all looked at for this next coming season, hoping that they're going to stay together, because all summer we had one of the main hoops shut down, wasn't operational, so I had to get that done. So we've been looking into repairing all 12 drop-down hoops in the field house, just because they're getting old. I'm struggling to find anybody that will work on them, and if they do work on them, it gets jimmy rigged. It's not the proper way of going about things. So I got like four different quotes for somebody to come in maybe next summer, if this would pass, to replace all of them. The one thing we have to make sure of now is that these are operating correctly. Too many people have their hands in the control boxes of operating. Our vendor said only one should be operated at a time. I know that's not for everybody here, but it needs to get out to our coaches, to our facility people, whoever. Kids should not be operating these so that they last. Don't know if that'll happen, but I've had Paddock, who is our vendor, in multiple times, and they say these are bad. They are getting very warm. And I'm just afraid if it goes down, if one of these goes down during season, we'll be holding the varsity game in the old gym. So that's kind of where we stand. Like I said, I got 4 different quotes, anywhere from about 100,000 to 150,000. And that's why we have 150,000 on here. I'm not sure which way we would go. I've been told to not use this brand. I've been told because these people won't come in and fix them for us. So that's kind of where we stand with that.
It's the same failure issue with all of them, and what is it specifically?
It's been, if you're in there, the arms that drop, all the joints and everything. The last one was the joint is supposed to go like this, but it went like this. And so that we don't have anybody to come in and fix these because they're Porter, and Porter does not stand behind the product like some other Garrett. I mean, it's just brand names of equipment, but I just worry about them being not useful when basketball season comes. I know it's a big price, but they are getting toward the end of their life cycle anyway.
So they're out of support life with parts.
Yes.
That's why we.
The last time I had somebody work on them to get them operational is I brought in Paddock, ET Paddock, and they did what they could to make them operational. They are operational right now, but not in good shape.
So these have lasted just over 20 years. Would the anticipation be that the new hoops would have a similar lifetime?
I would assume so, no.
We hope manufacturers never phase out of one of
Yeah.
these for
Yeah.
our sake, because that's the issue, is the support life of these things.
We can't get support. No, I got some quotes here from Porter again, but I was told not to use them. So, and I got a quote from Vogel. Actually, they sent their guys that put them in at Heritage, and they're putting them in at the middle school as well. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know, but it's all on how you guys feel about spending that kind of money to put them in. It's from structure down. It's not just the backboard and rim. It's everything.
Well, it's a lot of money, but we need those services for our program, so, I don't feel we have a huge choice. I appreciate what you're saying, Scott, in that you look at, the reliability of the vendor and the, support from those vendors and being sure that we choose wisely so we have the support we need in the future. And, that's kind of your expertise in your field. And, I feel we have to finance it. I mean, it's our programs.
And also, just like, did I say that this probably won't happen until next summer?
Right.
Because
Right.
it's a long process to do
Right.
12 hoops off the ceiling of the field house.
And so we have some time to maybe look at the practice of who's operating them, how are they being operated, and shore some of that misuse that might have caused some of the issues.
And I need Nick to get on board,
Right, and he will be.
Yeah. Because there's too many hands. I was told from one of our contractors that somebody should be standing under that hoop, listening for any failures, and one person operating the switch over there. So they're paying attention when they're supposed to stop on their own. When they go all the way up, they're supposed to stop. But if you sit there and keep holding the switch, they're going to keep trying and trying and trying, and it's going to wear them down. So we feel that certain people, students, kids, should not be operating.
And we can support that.
So you'll plan on getting a quote from the individuals Vogel used as well? 'Cause
I do have one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do have one. I got, like I said, I got 4 different quotes.
Okay.
So I support keeping it here and, giving you that leeway to, make the best decision.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna be 150,000. If we go with something that's better, that's only 100,000, that might be the way it goes, but I can't, for this meeting and purpose, I can't say which way we're gonna go.
Would you be more comfortable bringing it back here when he does more investigation?
I mean,
If it's that far out, yeah, I'd like to see probably the quotes.
you could look at the quotes, I got them all right here.
So why don't we, Scott, continue to research
Yeah.
the options and ultimately bring back a recommendation of which vendor, which approach?
Okay.
Yeah, because this committee, I do believe, is scheduled to meet in October, right, Rebecca? Yeah. So we will be meeting next month. We can come back with what our recommendation would actually be to move ahead. In the interim, you're working to get them fixed so that they're operational.
They are operational right now, hopefully, and that's the other thing, why they wear out so fast. They're up and down all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
In some schools, they may be down all the time and never get used, but ours, up and down every day.
All right, so we're gonna jump down to the Prairie cafeteria tables. So this would again be a project for next summer. As you know, the story behind this one, the committee originally did approve the replacement of the cafeteria tables at Prairie. They're original to when the school was constructed. We did then learn from the vendor that they made an error in their quote, presented us with a change order that was significant. We paused on the project at that point because it wasn't going to be done anyways this summer. John took it over as far as like dealing with the manufacturers, vendor selection, and everything else. So John has an update including a switch in vendor. So would you mind bringing the committee up to speed on this one?
Yeah, not at all. So when we went through these processes earlier, I went directly to the manufacturer and asked them to work with us, and they're willing to work with us, and it just so happened they also work with a dealer that has a furniture contract for Heritage in the middle school. So that's actually the secondary way that we progressed with these discussions with the manufacturer to use Atmosphere as their dealer. And that's worked out well. The communications has worked out well. However, the component on the screen is still part of what we would need to get that done regardless of the dealer, because of the lack of the original approved amount was incorrect. So we still have that there, and we can get that done over the summer. With the construction help with refinishing the pockets where the tables over the wall.
Is that amount similar to what was the last time we were talking? It's not the same amount,
It's similar, yeah. I don't remember.
and that was an additional 25 that they missed about, wasn't it?
I'd have to pull that
Something
down.
like that.
Back up.
Something like that, because I actually have the quote from Vogel, if Vogel did the install and everything, barring the paint, the price of the tables and everything, but the install would be $20,117.
So that's that extra add.
So we're looking to swap out vendors. So the vendor that originally gave us the quote that was approved that then came back with the error, John's been working to go direct to the manufacturer, who then indicated they have a relationship with Atmosphere, which is the company we're using for both Heritage and the middle school. So we are no longer working with the original vendor who gave us that proposal, but the need to replace the original cafeteria tables at the school still remains. We would like to get ahead of this to get the tables on order so that for the summer of '26, we're well positioned to line the equipment up and the install folks up and be ready to roll. So you do see this one back on the list. The next, go ahead. Did you say something? Oh, sorry about that, hearing things. So the next one on the list, I just want to touch on this one. So this is not a requirement, but it is a recommendation from North American Mechanical. So in our main high school boiler room, we have several boilers that currently are not operational. That was the case last winter and everything was fine. We made it through the summer at the high school, the winter at the high school, there were no issues. NAMI is continuing to let us know that if another boiler were to go down at the high school, maintaining temperature would be at risk. So this is one of those, I'll call them safety nets that they're recommending, would be to have an additional backup boiler at the high school. So this is definitely one of those that is more related to your risk tolerance. You know, we didn't have it last winter. It is not a requirement, but there always is the risk that if another boiler goes down, and we did have to repair one recently, the building would not be able to maintain the temperature that we're looking for. We have held off on investments in the high school, so this isn't a new issue. As North American Mechanical has worked with John and Scott and I, we've continued to push off on anything at the high school so the high school conversations could take place. But it does now appear that we're at the point that there could be the potential for the building not to hold temperature if we don't replace one of the boilers that currently is not functional in the high school. Again, this is more of a risk tolerance type situation. The good news is the boiler will be able to be used no matter what. If there's some type of change that occurs with the high school design, we went through that with North American Mechanical, can be easily used elsewhere, easily utilized. There's no risk of this being an investment that we later on would regret. It's an investment that we would be able to utilize this equipment accordingly. And so we've got it on the list because we try to avoid any risk where it could potentially cause the school to have to close, and this is one of them. So this would be to replace one of the boilers at the high school to give us an additional backup. But again, not a requirement. I would say it's a recommendation if we want to avoid, you know, risks going into this winter. And
How
then
many boilers are there?
I think there were 6 in
There's
the boiler room.
6 in that room, in that room.
In that room?
And 2 don't work,
3 don't work.
3 don't work.
But the building is maintained, with the 3 that are there, the building is maintaining temperature. Even in the coldest of days last winter, there were no issues. What pushed us on this one is one of the 3 that remains had an extensive repair. And so that caused the concern that if that one goes down as well, could the 2 that remain hold the temperature, and that's unclear.
So how old are these boilers? Are they like original?
2004, for the 2004, so they're 20 years, they're at end of life cycle. They were all put in the 2004 high school project.
Any idea what the extensive repair cost on the one that we'd be replacing?
Usually they do time and materials on those, and thousands of dollars typically.
But it was less than 5. So,
I think it makes sense to do that.
I mean, I think we need to be sure we can hold school.
Yeah,
Because that's our job.
You're gonna be able to use it either way, and it's something that's needed, so.
while we're talking, there's 2 other things in the HVAC space that are not on this list. At Prairie, there is a boiler that is not functioning right now as well. However, the one that is, you approved about 18 months ago. So it's in great shape. North American Mechanical has said there's no risk of the building not maintaining temperature because the boiler is relatively new. The other one is not functioning, but it's not on the list because when you compare it to the issue at the high school, very secondary. But just note, there is the backup boiler at Prairie is not functional, and again, that's 20 plus years old. But the one that is functional is only like 18 months old. So we feel like we're fine there, but they are asking about that one, and we're just not moving that forward.
Can we get a discount on a big purchase of boilers?
Now, the next one that's not on the list, because we pulled it off, that is more significant in nature, the high school air conditioning unit that serves the portion of the building that we have been discussing with the high school master planning process. So there's two very large air conditioning units at the high school. We replaced one of them in the summer of '24. So we replaced the one that covers the gym, the weight room, the office, the pool. So basically half the school has a brand new air conditioning unit. The other half of the school is using an air conditioning unit, again, put in 2004. The concern with that one is we're having conversations at the board level about the long-term use of the high school. And if we were hypothetically going to propose a project that would rebuild a portion of the high school, we would propose that project to be a geothermal project, which you would then not need that $150,000 traditional air conditioning unit. And as we've had discussions with North American Mechanical, that would not be a good investment. We would not be able to reuse that somewhere else. And so we would run the risk of spending $150,000 and then potentially having the board make a decision to do some type of project. The downside to all of this is it's a 20-plus-year-old unit, which could go down at some point. If it does go down, half of the high school will not have air conditioning. And so it's just an important thing to keep in mind. We would do everything we could to repair it. We would do everything we could to keep it functional. But there is some risk that we're carrying there on a portion of the high school. We are not recommending spending the $150,000 to replace that unit. Our preference would be to continue to work on repairing it. But we do need to keep in mind that at some point, a decision on that will need to be made as we are moving along the process of discussing the high school. But just like any other projects that we've done in the district, we would recommend if we were to, let's say, rebuild a portion of the high school, that it would be rebuilt with a modern geothermal system, which would eliminate the need for the traditional air conditioning unit to sit on the roof. So that has not been put on the list. I just want you to make you aware of it. There is a little bit of a risk factor there, but we think at this point in time we should continue to carry that risk and not put the $150,000 on the list. So I just want you to be aware of that. And so you're welcome to ask any questions about the smaller items on the list. We'd be happy to address them. John and Scott spend a lot of time working on this, so they can certainly address any questions you may have.
The bottom item, removal of the our portable classroom, no cost there.
So I should
Are
actually
we going
have
to
that.
do that?
Sorry, I should actually have that cost today.
Okay,
It's not here yet, but I expect it today.
so we are going to remove that from site.
So we think that that's probably the best optics, and just to get that thing out of there. There's some challenges with that
Yeah.
due to the systems, life safety systems and electronics that run through this trailer to get to the rented trailer. So other than those technical hurdles. I'll have this price today.
Great.
All right, so we're looking for approval of the list. Should we pull out the basketball hoops since we're going to have, I want you to move forward with the investigation, but let's wait for approval until you have final numbers?
What I think I want to do, I think I want to take this up to Nick
Sure,
and talk it over with
sure,
him.
that makes sense.
And he can determine kind of what he wants to.
Yeah, so let's remove it, because we know we're gonna meet in October, and that'll still give us time.
I make a motion to approve the list for removal of the basketball hoops supplies.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I guess my hesitation was, you're just going to do the removal of the portable, and we don't have the price of that, that's included in this.
Can I ask John, when we give the other portable back to heirs, is there anything associated with that other than electrical?
Just disconnecting.
Disconnecting?
All right, we appreciate that. Thank you for your support on those projects.
Thank you.
So the last agenda item is related to the conversation, the bigger picture conversation at the high school. Again, this conversation is imagining the new middle school's open, the new middle school is functional, and we're sitting there next September 1st with a opportunity for a high school campus. And so we had a conversation at the board workshop in August where all board members had an opportunity to weigh in on a variety of topics, and this was one of them. The topic that we brought up surrounding this agenda item was the fact that high school administration is requesting on a short-term basis to be able to utilize the existing middle school building for use next September. So high school administration has at least initially identified a variety of uses. One of them is the family and consumer ed classrooms that are at the existing middle school. Another one is utilizing the gym. High school administration would also prefer to utilize the cafeteria space at the existing middle school. And then they're also investigating the potential of a department moving over to the middle school, which would then allow, with the goal of that every teacher in the high school would ultimately have their own classroom if a department was moved over. With that being the case, there will be increased student traffic back and forth between the two properties. And to start that conversation back in the spring, in anticipation of this, we did ask local civil engineer Roxanne Johnson and our traffic study experts who work with us on all of our schools to put together a proposal to complete an independent review of the high school. The goal of that review is to determine the safest student circulation in the short term, again, between the high school and middle school building. We also did learn from the village prior to getting these proposals that we have the right to gate off or close Community Drive during the day if we want to. So that would be part of the study. So as an example, something that may come out of this could be gates on Community Drive that would prohibit vehicles from intersecting with students who would be crossing the parking lot. The bottom line is administration is recommending, given the interest in high school administration to use the existing middle school, that we do have a professional engineer and traffic experts to come to the high school this fall, basically analyze this situation while school is in session, and come back to this committee with a recommendation as to what they would suggest we do for September 1st of '26 to really make sure, at least again in the short term, while students might be crossing between the buildings, that we have the safest setup possible. So that's what these two proposals are. They are in alignment with how board members responded at that retreat or the workshop in August, to be open to the idea of high school administration utilizing the existing middle school. Ultimately, in the end, we would like to further this conversation, if the board moves ahead with the study, to start engaging this committee and the board in conversations related to, as an example, the wellness clinic. Does the board want us to continue renting the wellness clinic? Another example would be the new alternative placement program that we are renting. Should we be considering, or strongly considering, in the fall of '26, bringing our off-site rented programs into this space as well? And so I view this as like an initial conversation around what do we really want to do with that middle school, at least temporarily. We certainly are open to exploring the idea of ending our lease for the wellness clinic and bringing it in. I do think if you look at the existing middle school, the southern portion would be a perfect place to put the wellness clinic. And again, it would save us about $45,000 in total costs, as well as another $30,000 in costs for the alternative placement program for under 8th grade. So this would be a first step in us really discussing how are we expecting to utilize this building on September 1st of 2026. Dr. Brown, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think we all know. Thank you.
So thoughts or feedback?
I think it's a great beginning. I like expert eye looking at it, probably seeing things that we would never even know or imagine. And I think it increases or it decreases our liability by having a third party doing it. And so I support looking at this traffic study and how we utilize those two buildings.
I agree.
Same.
So I would need a motion to approve those studies. Correct? Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, so the last agenda item, we don't have to get to today, so if folks have to run by 9:30, we can bring this back, because we do have a meeting in October. The purpose of this is really to begin the conversation about moving forward. How do we properly account, track, monitor our capital maintenance planning long-term? As board members, you know that we've had a long journey of identifying our capital maintenance projects. This began with our previous contractor, who created a very extensive report for the board, all Excel-based. That was then all transferred over to our current contractor, Vogel Brothers. Rebecca, would you just open that up as an example? So this is just basically a summary that shows all of the buildings and basically the costs across time, maintenance dollars, etc. The spreadsheets identify, all of the major equipment, parking lots, roofs, all of the items that we have in the district. We do want to have a conversation with the committee about moving forward and the approaches that you would like to see us consider for this type of work. There are districts that utilize database systems that are quite a bit more expensive than systems like this. There's a wide variety of approaches that we could take. Our intent with throwing this on the agenda is we believe it is now time to come back to this. So Rebecca's showing an example of like the exhaustive list of all of the equipment that's been identified. we wanted to see if there was like an initial reaction, like as an example, if the committee said, we prefer to keep working with Vogel, we prefer to keep this kind of spreadsheet based like we've done before, let's get going on a comprehensive update and bringing that back to the committee, that's what we would do. If there's interest in exploring other tools that are out there on the marketplace, we could bring some of those tools forward so you could see what they would look like. So we just wanted to begin the conversation. I know we're at 9:30, we were planning to wrap this up by now. We can bring this back in October, or if there was an initial reaction, like keep doing what we're doing, just get it updated, that'd be all we would need to know.
I just want it to be useful. This is 170 pages. Is it useful? It seems to me that you bring us needs out of need. It's a need. And I appreciate that it's a need and you justify it and you have researched it and you've looked into it. That's important to me. I just want whatever we're doing useful to you. And I know that there were board members that really wanted this kind of detail so that we can always know what our needs were going to be. But are these really our needs, or do our needs change every year, every building, because of use and other conditions that exist? So to have this document and to have it a Bible that anybody would expect you to use, I think is misleading. So whatever you choose to do, make it useful to you.
And efficient. Right?
And efficient. This does, to me, is something I look at when I want to fall asleep.
Yeah, I think having things in a format that we have financial transparency and that,
that's great.
that we have the information that we need, but yeah, this is a lot. This doesn't feel like it's particularly useful to the people who are actually tracking the projects.
This is a great static document, but it's challenging to be able to update it and use it as an effective and efficient document tracking our
Absolutely.
space through time.
So if there's a better method that provides transparency to the public, but is, this just is kind of overwhelming.
So I'm hearing openness to exploring tools
Yeah,
that
yes.
may be better efficiency related. Okay, so that's what I was just looking for. I didn't know if there was a strong desire to keep it in this format that we've done before. So what we're hearing is administration will work on coming up with some ideas to move this forward and get everything updated in some type of format that is transparent yet usable to us as we move forward. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, so motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Very
All right,
good.
thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Here we go.
So Carly, who do you meet with when you don't go to